Mary, and today I'm filming a bit of a different video. We'll see how this goes. But I wanted to talk about the books that I'm currently reading because I am in the middle of, well, I'm reading like 8 books in total, but actively I'm basically reading 3 that I never talked about before. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about those and also share with you my new wonky method of choosing what to read next, which is always, to me, it's always sort of stressful to choose what to read next. I know it shouldn't be, but it's just for some reason that's what happens to me. So yeah, let's jump into the books that I'm reading first, and then I'm gonna talk you through my method. First, we've got Memorial Drive, a daughter's memoir by Natasha Thretheway. I am listening to this one on audio, on script, and I am now halfway through, and I have to say that in the beginning I was loving it. I love her writing style and her way of using words. She's a poet, I believe, as well, so you can definitely tell. And the first thing that I thought while listening to it was how beautiful the language was. And I was instantly captivated in the story. She's talking about her life, basically her childhood, her relationship with her mother growing up until her mother gets killed when Natasha was 19. And that's what the memoir is about. And it's just, as I said, written very well, but at the same time I sort of left it for no particular reason. I left it for a while and then I picked it back up, and it's sort of dragging for me right now a little bit. I don't know what it is exactly, that it's not working 100%, but maybe because I shouldn't have let that much time pass. But anyway, I'm still enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to check out more by her because I really love how she writes. I said 3 books, I meant 4 books that I am actively reading, because I was almost forgetting this one, which is Wild Swans by Chang. I'm just going to hold my Italian translation because the cover is similar, and yes, we're just gonna go with this. But I had this book on my shelves, as I already said, for more than 10 years. That's why it's in Italian. I was meaning to read this book for the Invisible Cities project for China, but then I didn't get around to reading this. I ended up reading something else for China. But I still, since I got it off my shelves, I thought it was just about time that I picked this one up. And it's the story of Chang. She talks herself about her mother and her grandmother, and the story starts in 1909, so it spans throughout 3 generations and lots of political and social events and changes. So it's very interesting, especially since I don't know a lot about China as I should, and it's also pretty long, but at the same time it's not dense. Her writing style is very simple. As I said, I own the Italian translation, but the book wasn't written in Chinese originally. It was written in English, and she had her husband help her write it as well. And it's very interesting, as I said. It's sort of, sometimes I feel like it's a bit brutal in sort of a nonchalance way. She's not cold, but she's not emotional either. Sometimes she would tell horrifying stuff in like the span of 3 sentences and just, leave it there. And I was like a bit shocked, but still, it works. It's not that it's not treated in the right way. It's just very matter-of-factly. But yes, so this one I am enjoying and slowly making my way through. I have no rush to finish this one. I feel like it's a good book to pick, to dip in and out of. And then I am reading an ebook for the Invisible Cities project. This month, one of the countries that they chose is Peru. Peru? Is that how you say it in English? Is it the same as in Spanish? I think so. Peru. And for Peru, I chose, again, thanks to the Discord group that hopefully I will be able to link down below. It was this list of female Peruvian writers that were probably lesser known, and as a matter of fact, I didn't know about any of them, and I picked up Sexographies by Gabriela Wiener, and this is a collection of essays, so it's a non-fiction book, and I only read the first two. I just started this book, but I feel like this is going to be great. It's so different. It's so like the first essay that I read, I double checked if it was like real. Is this fiction or not? Because it read sort of like fiction. I wish I had this book in Spanish, but you know, the English translation was available on Script for free. I mean, I'm already paying the subscription to that, so I thought I just, you know, I just save some money. But I, you know, if I end up really liking it, then I'm gonna purchase it in Spanish because I feel like her voice is even more powerful. But it's about really weird sexual experiences. I don't want to know too much about what's gonna happen, but yeah, you know, polyamorous relationships and threesomes and egg donation, how maybe she infiltrated one of the most dangerous prisons in Peru as well. Yes, it's just bonkers, this book. I'm really interested in it for now. So yeah, this one. Then on a completely different note, I am reading Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. So let me preface that. My son is 2.5 years old, and we started watching TV with him. It's been, you know, some months now, maybe 6 months or so. And I don't know how we ended up watching Winnie the Pooh, but he really likes it. And it sort of reminded me, I went back and watched the film adaptation for this book, and I never actually read the book, so I was curious to check out the source material. You know, first of all, let me show you the cover under the dust jacket because it's so freaking beautiful, this book. Look, I hope I can show you in a correct way, but it has the bees there, and yeah, it's just so beautiful. And inside you've got maps, illustrations. It's beautiful. And it's also very short. Like, I started this last night. You could easily read this in one sitting, but I didn't because I started late last night and I reached the halfway point. But yeah, it's very endearing, and I was very curious, especially after watching on YouTube a video that talks about how actually the real Christopher Robin wasn't really having a great time because of Winnie the Pooh. He didn't really have a great life, poor fellow. But yes, so this one. The only thing that I want to say is, where's Tigger, man? I mean, where's Tigger? He's my favorite, and he's not in this book. I skimmed up until the end, and I don't see Tigger. This upsets me, but I know that there are more books in the series, so I probably will check out more. But yes, these are the books that I am currently actively reading. And now onto my method. So as I said, I love to read more books, more than one book at a time. It just, because if I'm only reading one book and then I finish the book, I find it very hard to choose one book. And also sometimes it happens that I am in the mood for maybe this book or maybe the other book. So I don't have a set number of books that I want to read at the same time, but it happens to be around the 8 mark, 7, 8, it depends. And sometimes, you know, I finish one of the books and then it's easier to pick another one even if I'm reading other books. Or I feel like just adding another more to the mix. So yes, I feel like this way I never run out of books that I'm reading. If it happens that I finish reading all of the books that I'm reading, then I find it harder to, you know, to start back. I don't know if this makes any sense, but anyway, since I always have many categories in mind for books that I want to read, I'm always afraid that I'm going to forget some. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have reread a book this month. I really wanted to reread a book, but I forgot, maybe. So I wrote down 20 categories, I know there are a lot, of books, and I'm using a random number generator to pick one of the categories, and then I'm gonna pick a book of that category. Let me go through all the categories that I chose, which may sound very weird again, but what can you do? So my categories are, first up, nonfiction, because I always want to have a nonfiction book going on. Second is parenting, which I know it's also nonfiction, but I feel like it's a category of its own. That's just how I work. But yeah, parenting. Then we've got manga. Then 4 is buddy read, because usually it's with my sister, but if it's not my sister, then maybe someone else pops up and, you know, we've got a buddy read. 5 is Invisible Cities Project, so I'm always reading something for the Invisible Cities Project, but maybe I'm not, or maybe I should read one more, because usually there's at least 3 books that I should be reading every month. So yeah, but maybe I'm not, so this is the category for that. Then a category that needs a bit of an explanation is the DNF one. I've got lots of books that I purchased throughout the years of being on BookTube that I'm not interested in anymore. That happens to everybody, especially when a long time passes, but at the same time I feel like I was very much overwhelmed by the choice when I first joined BookTube, and I sort of got convinced because of other people's excitement about books that probably are, you know, now that I sit down and look through them, maybe they're not for me. So it's a category in which I choose a book that I want to pick a fight, basically. I choose a book that I am so ready to DNF. Maybe I'm not going to DNF it, but there are high chances that I am. So lots of these kind of books I got rid of during the years, but some of them I kept because I still want to give them a chance. So this is the category for them. Then we've got a reread. I have like a list of books that I want to reread, so I can pick from that category. Then we've got a series. I don't want to read more than one series at a time, and so this is for that. Short story collection, same thing. Then we've got an ebook, audiobook, same thing. Then we've got the 5-star predictions, which there is a video that I made, I think 3 or 4 years ago, with my 5-star predictions that I never ended up wrapping up. So that one, you know, those books are my priority, but also all the books that I feel like I could easily give 5 stars to apply to this category. Then we've got graphic novel. Then we got The Silmarillion, which is a book that I'm currently reading, but I actively not reading it. So if I pick this category, it means that I need to go on with that book. Maybe just a chapter, or maybe 2, I don't know how I feel, but still, pick up The Silmarillion. By J.R.R. Tolkien, sorry, I just assume that everybody knows what The Silmarillion is. Then we've got a random book from my TBR. And again, this means that I need to use, again, the random number generator and pick a book amongst my entire TBR, which means that it could be a book that I don't own and I need to purchase, or a book that I own already. Then we've got a book in Italian. Doesn't mean that it has to be written originally in Italian, but I do have a book translated in Italian as well, and I don't read enough books in Italian. So this is the category. Then we've got a classic. A Daphne du Maurier book. I was in a project, again, 4 years ago, where we read every Daphne du Maurier book, and I sort of stopped, but I still want to go on. So, you know, if I pick this category, it means that I have to read a book by Daphne du Maurier in publication order. I'm just going to go on where I left, basically. 19, we're almost there. 19 is a witchy book. So since I have plenty of them now, I actually am currently not actively, but reading 2 of them. 3 of them. So yes, this is a category of its own, even though it's still non-fiction. And then time travel. This is the last category. Time travel, because time travel is my favorite plot device in fiction. But I don't read enough of it, and I always forget that I want to read more books with it. So I just made a category on its own. Edit and me, and I forgot to mention something about the method, which is that if I happen to choose a category that I'm already reading, say for example I pick nonfiction and I'm already reading a nonfiction book, then it just means that I need to prioritize that book. Because sometimes, you know, maybe I'm prioritizing something else or none of them. So yes, if I pick a category that I'm already reading, it doesn't mean that I need to read another one from that category, but I just have to focus more on that. Okay, I just thought I'd clarify that. I can't believe I just shared this. This feels very weird and personal probably, but I thought to add more fun to this choosing method, let's just choose a book for my TBR with this method. So let's do it. So we've got 20 numbers and I'm gonna use the random number generator for that. So I picked 8. Let's see what 8 is. A series. All right. So I was actually eyeing a series a couple of weeks ago that I have right here that I'm not sure about this series because I don't really remember how it got on my TBR really. So I feel like this fits 2 categories, also the DNF one, but it's this one actually that I want to read. The Enchanted Forest Chronicles. I think it's sort of YA, but at the same time sort of by Patricia. See, Wrede? I don't know. Sorry. And I think it's, yes, it says, The Misadventures of a Princess Who Refuses to Be Proper. I think it's sort of YA, but on the old-ish side. Let's see. I freaking hate box sets. What do you think about box sets? Because I feel like they're fine when you're buying it because it's easy to buy a box set, but at the same time I just want to get rid of the box. Does it make sense? But anyway, let's pick one. So the covers are not bad. And I just want to know the year in which this was written. Okay, 1990. So it's a sort of old style YA that I could get on board with. And the first one is Dealing with Dragons. Okay, so this is what I'm reading next. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think about my method and let me know how you choose which books to read next because I'm very curious about that. I'll chat with you in the comments and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!